Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Station Innovation Zone Year 3 Funding Competition webinar. I hope you are all well from wherever you join us today. And just to give you a brief introduction to today's agenda, next slide. We will talking you through a very exciting program that we've got in store for this year. It's the third Station Innovation Zone competition. So for those of you who are familiar with it, we'll tell you more about the new challenge. This year's competition. We'll hear from Alan Peters, the Connected Places Catapult Ecosystem Director from Rail and Station, and we'll then give you a brief introduction to the program for those of you who are new to it. And then I'll hand over to a couple of colleagues, including some of the SMEs that are involved in this year's trials and project to allow you to hear directly from them about their projects and how they've experienced working with us and Network Rail on the program. My colleague Anna will take you through the tips to submit a successful application, and my colleague Anna Spau instead will give you an overview of the different challenges. And we'll finish with George, service designer at CPC, to understand a little bit more about how a successful testbed works and what will be required from you if you're successful with it. At the end, we'll have time for some Q&A, so please feel free to use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and then we'll ensure back to all of you towards the end of today's session. So enjoy the webinar, and I'll hand over to Alan now.
Lovely. Thank you, Julia. Hope you can all see me. I'll also extend a welcome to this webinar for the Station Innovation Zone programme, Year 3, and the innovation competition within that. So I hope everyone's well. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you'll find this session useful and informative. We've been running this program for 3 years, and we find that hopefully we think these webinars are a useful way for understanding exactly what we want to be achieving in the year ahead. So I'm Alan Peters. As Julia says, I'm the Ecosystem Director for Rail and Stations at Connected Places Catapult. And my remit's all around forming new meaningful programs, building partnerships, and having a clear rail strategy for the years ahead. For those not familiar with catapults, perhaps we can move on to the next slide. I just wanted to give a little bit of wider context. So actually, Connected Places Catapult is one of 9 catapults across 65 sites in the UK. We've all got the same type of remit. We're all trying to accelerate the progress of good ideas into the marketplace, into business as usual, but we've got different focus areas. So Connected Places Catapult is all around transport and the built environment. So although we're 9 separate catapults, we work together on the sort of the big mega trends that are happening, things like hydrogen transformation, digital twins, data transfer, etc. So we work together, but we have those separate remits. But we're all turning good ideas into valuable products. CPC, so Connected Places Catapult, is focused on accelerating innovation in transport and the built environment. What do I mean by that? So that's looking at sectors of rail, which today's call is all around, air mobility, things like drones and digital airspace, maritime and ports, and then also looking at the urban spaces in our centre of our urban cities, etc. So we run about 80 programs at any one time. We've got about 300 staff delivering those projects. And Station Innovation Zone is just one of those 80. Other examples quickly, we run the National Digital Twin Hub. We, on behalf of DfT, run the Transport Research Innovation Grant, the TRIG programme. We manage HS2's accelerator programme. So we've got a wide variety of shapes and projects of activities that we do in the transport space. On to Station Innovation Zone, and you may hear it called SIZ during the next 45 minutes or so. SIZ is a really important project for Connected Places Catapult. We've long observed that there are issues and barriers with getting access to real-world test sites in all of the sectors that we work with. Rail is no different. So this Station Innovation Zone project was set up to directly address that. a safe, accessible, efficient place that people can come and test their good ideas and their innovations. So yeah, it's a really important project. We think rail needs new innovation, and we think it needs new ideas from different sectors, and hopefully Catapult is a way of allowing those good ideas to flow into rail. I'd like, just in this starting few minutes, to thank the wider team, particularly at Network Rail, Wales and Western, so Brian Wortman and Andy Rhodes, for actually making these trials happen. As I mentioned, we're on, this is session 3, year 3. The success we've had with the trials to date are only down to the sort of combined effort and the blended team that we've got working across the different organisations involved. Also like to thank GWR as well, and obviously Innovate UK for funding the programme as well. So in the guidance and in the advice that we're going to lay out in the webinar today, you'll see that we've tried to balance lots of things. We're trying to balance the right level of ambition and impact set against the sort of feasibility and the complexity of actually doing these trials, and that's, as you might imagine, is a fine balance to strike. Helping us, we're joined by the innovators from year 2 who are sharing their wisdom and talking about the trials that are actually ongoing at the moment. So hopefully that will give you good ideas and examples of the types of things that we're looking for. So please listen and get useful pointers from the internal team and from those additional innovators as well. And I hope that helps you make the submission process easier, quicker, and more valuable. So I'm going to conclude with a video that talks a little bit more around the wider role of Connected Places Catapult. So we can play the video, please. Thank you.
For millennia, cities have been places where bright ideas spark. From the earliest riverside trading posts that turned into today's sprawling megacities in the digital global economy. Cities can create positive experiences for people, always connected by technology. And when connected places work well, it's good for people and the planet. But making a connected place succeed is hard. There's loads of stakeholders, businesses, regulators, and community groups who want to be involved across every mode of transport, every type of building, the infrastructure that underpins them, and the data and digital platforms that connect them. All of this is needed to help people, communities, neighbourhoods, and local businesses to prosper. Now, more than ever, we need our connected places to succeed. We are in a climate emergency. Rapid urbanisation means 3/4 of us will be living in a city by 2050. And new technologies are revolutionising the way that we live, the way we work, and the way we travel, creating fantastic opportunities for innovation, jobs, and growth. At Connected Places Catapult, we connect people, places, and businesses for a future of sustainable growth and prosperity. We are the UK's innovation accelerator for cities, transport, and place leadership. We are trusted across government, industry, and academia, connecting new technologies, business models, and investment opportunities. So join with us and be better connected for a future of sustainable growth and prosperity.
Brilliant. So I'll get us started with a brief introduction to the Station Innovation Zone programme. Next slide, please. So as the newly appointed Transport Minister Louise Hay set out, one of the key priorities for the new government is to improve performance on the railways and drive forward rail reform. Now, why is that important in the context of Station Innovation Zone? Station Play a very important role. They are the cornerstone of our transport network, both because they play a link to all other mode of transport, but also for the role that they play within the communities that they serve. They're most often the first impression that visitors get of a city or a town. And it's also important in terms of the role that they play with the wider network of transport and communities. So the reason why the Station Innovation Zone program has been set up is because we recognized that there are lots of barriers when it comes to innovation within rail, but specifically within station. And some of these barriers include navigating the approval landscape, which especially within a safety critical industry like rail is absolutely important to be able to understand in order to be successful, but also in terms of accessing funding when it comes to innovation within the rail sector. And the other barrier that our research and our engagement has pointed out is the sometimes challenge in engaging with the diverse stakeholders that are absolutely required in order to be successful in these industries. So because of the multifaceted sort of barriers that sometimes innovators are faced, Station Innovation Zone comes in to help break down those issues and enables you as startups and innovators to have a direct way into the station. The main aim is that we wanted to work with a Network Rail managed station. And so Station Innovation Zone is a collaboration between us and Network Rail, and particularly, as Alan mentioned earlier, with a team of Network Rail colleagues based in Bristol. And Bristol Temple Meads is the station that is the innovation zone for all the trials that have been funded so far, and we will be funding through year 3. Innovation in rail is difficult, as we say, and that's why this program is particularly unique in its shape and in its form. And the ultimate aim, as you can see on the slide, is also for us to be able to demonstrate that innovation can really make a real difference to the passenger experience. And we thought that by starting at the core of the station environment, will make that possible. Next slide. To ensure that innovation is targeted and to make sure that we've got a clear mandate for this program, we co-created a vision, which you can see on screen. And we've done that by carrying out lots of research in the last couple of years. Station Innovation Zone has started 2 years ago last year in 2023. And we've been engaging with a lot of partners, both at a national level and also at a local level. But also, as I said, we carried out a lot of research with academics and other relevant parties, some of which are mentioned on screen, or their logos are on screen. And we've been working with them quite closely on an advisory board format to ensure that the program and the challenges within the program are addressing the most pressing issues that the industry is facing within the station context. So in terms of the vision that we co-created with them, I think it would be worth reading it out. So the station of the future will be a proud and efficient gateway to the place it serves. The station of the future reflects local identity and is open and inclusive to all. So again, not just a place where you go and catch a train, but much more than that. As I said before, there's a link to the community, there's a link to accessibility and ensuring that it provides a much bigger service than just taking us from A to B. And also the station should be a place that convenes people, businesses and culture without compromising on purpose, effective transit through its spaces. So we're looking as part of the program at a station as a 360 sort of context, going from the more sort of operational aspect of it, and my colleague Anne Spar will elaborate on that a little bit more when we look through the challenges in more specific details, but also in terms of a place where people and businesses can meet and do just more than travel. And the last bit, our vision is to design a safe, sociable, seamless and sustainable station that enables both social and financial prosperity. And this is what we've ended up calling the 4 C's. So safe, sociable, seamless and sustainable. Those are the 4 themes around which the whole program rests upon, and around which the specific challenges that we've selected for each year so far. So as we already mentioned, we're in year 3. The challenges around which the specific the themes around which the specific challenges have been built. So safe, if we move to the next slide. Safe meaning a station where people feel safe and that looks safe, both for staff and also for passengers. Sustainable, again, a station that promotes the themes of decarbonization, of biodiversity, of circular economy as a whole, and therefore there is a huge opportunity and huge scope for activities within this particular challenge as well. Seamless, as it says on the tin, a station that is smooth, efficient, that provides a sort of seamless journey from start to finish. Not just, again, as we said before, within the remit of the station, but much broader than that. So from when we start a journey at home to when we end. And then sociable, a station that, as the vision alluded to, that can be welcoming and can lead to us not just travel through, but also make business, for instance, or carry out many other activities. So on that note, I would like now to introduce the 3 SMEs that have been working with us and Network Rail very closely for the last 7 months or so. Crom Angel Solution, CoU and Crosstech. We've got Mark from Crom Angel, Christian from CoU and Hayden from Crosstech. And what they'll do is they'll give you a very brief overview of their project and what they've achieved so far. Over to you, Mark.
Hi, Julia. Sorry, can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you loud and clear, yes.
Oh, fantastic. Sorry, my laptop just chose to have a blue screen of death just as I joined this, so I'm on my phone. I do apologize for that. Hi everyone. So yeah, we're having an amazing experience on the Station Innovation Zone. We've done a few programs now with Connected Places Catapult, and the project that we're running at the moment is around a virtual reality serious games on station security. So Anna, do you have the video? Were you planning to play that while I speak about this?
We do, Mark. It's on the next slide. Perfect.
Okay, splendid. Sorry, I'm struggling on my phone. I can't actually see. Oh, there we go. It's come up now. I can see what we're doing. So what we've done is built this video game about working in the station. We've been working on serious games now for about 5 years on railways. It's a video game just like any other. We're leveraging mainstream games industry technology, but what's really special about these games is they've got a very serious purpose. And what this one's about is raising your ability to recognize, assess and react to security threats in stations. So this is the proof of concept game that we built at Bristol Temple Meads. We've got a virtual reality environment that I'm navigating around. I'm playing the role of a staff member in this station, and basically I'm looking for threats, in this case suspicious objects. So I can move around the station, talk to people, interact with objects, and the most important thing is, do I recognize the potential threat? Do I gather the information that's required? And do I take the correct approach to reacting to it? So that's what we built. That's just a brief snippet of it. We've just finished user testing in the station, which was absolutely amazing. We spent 3 full days. We had about 40 members of station staff, from cleaning contractors to security professionals, came and played the game with us. And we're now digesting the feedback and just starting to roll it out for our trial use over the summer. So that's pretty much our project in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, Mark. And I think Christian, you're up.
Hi everyone, nice to see you all. Thank you for the invitation to speak. If you just want to go on to the next slide. So yeah, just briefly, sort of 2 minutes I think we have. Our trial is about capturing CO2. We were interested in decarbonisation of the station itself due to the trains. So as the trains pull in to the station, on the walls you see our panels which capture carbon. So our technology was basically looking at a panel solution, how we can scale a decarbonisation across different platforms. It was really interesting feedback in the process for us. In the application process, when we were selected, another opportunity came up where the taxi rank outside the station was also identified as a potential problem to solve. So we worked with the Network Rail team to put a panel. So the photograph on the very left of the screen is actually an existing window that's blocked up. So turning something that currently was unused into something that actually captures CO2 from idle taxis and buses put into the station. It's, yeah, as a startup, it's been a fantastic experience just working with CPC and Network Rail to sort of get our trial in place. There's a lot of hard work and discussions from all teams, but it's a fantastic opportunity for us to demonstrate our technology and to show it in a live environment. So yeah, I encourage you to apply to the call. Huge learning experience for us. Yeah, and we hope to take it forward from there. Happy to answer any questions as well afterwards. Thank you.
Thanks, Christian. And over to you, Hayden.
Hello. I don't think you can see me because there's some sort of permission error on Zoom, so it's just me speaking, unfortunately. So I don't want to delay it. You can't start your video because the host has stopped it. Okay. So technical glitch. So yeah, so Hayden, Crosstech, and essentially what we've been doing in Bristol Temple. Oh, there we go. I can start it. It's come up now. Sorry. Hopefully everyone can see me. Make it a little bit more personable. So basically, most stations have escalators or stairs. Bristol Temple Meads has lots of stairs because of the design of the station, and most of the platforms are connected via this passenger subway. You'll have to imagine it, but like a typical passenger subway with stairs going up to all the individual platforms, and also out of the main exit and entrance. And unfortunately, stairs and escalators, or particularly in the case of Bristol Temple Meads, stairs can be quite dangerous if people take unsafe items onto those assets. If you see stairs as an asset, and lots of people move large luggage and bikes and prams, and I'm sure you've all seen people sort of carry really too large items of luggage and prams downstairs and escalators if you've been sort of moving through the railway system over the years. And we basically said, well, why can't we use a bit of nudge theory and computer vision technology to create a system which, as passengers approach one of the main staircases in the passenger subway, that computer vision system basically detects the large items, it detects the prams, it detects the bikes, and sends a personalized real-time alert on a screen in front of these stairs at Bristol Temple Meads to point them into the direction of the lift. So not only does it combine computer vision analytics, or AI, if you want to use the buzzwords, it also has an element of nudge theory, in the way we sort of design the actual sign and the system to make sure we capture the attention of the person carrying those unsafe items. Yeah, so if you are on Bristol Temple Meads, it's down in the passenger subway. It's pretty obvious because you hopefully will see it detecting passengers carrying those unsafe items, and it's worth having a look, because importantly, it will help with improving the compliance of people using the lifts. So it does make actually a real difference to the safety, culture and environment in the station. A little last bit to end is that's the system and what we're doing. But in terms of why Bristol Temple Meads and the Station Innovation Zone has been helpful, you'll see it if you haven't seen it, but I didn't kind of appreciate how much of a building site it was until I got there, which brings a great opportunity in how challenging an environment is. And I think for people who want to bring new tech onto the railways, being able to have that sort of test bed really does, stretch your capability in our case, our hardware and technology, from comms to even getting things installed and working out where we're going to run wires and things. So it's a really good litmus test for products that are coming into the railway, and I would encourage anyone to go in with it with that spirit, because then other stations will be a lot easier. So yeah, that's probably me done now.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Hayden. It's me now. Sorry, jumped
Thank
away.
you.
I am not Julia Lorenzini. I've just popped on the
Okay.
screen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hayden. Feel free.
Cheers all.
That's great. And so I'm just going to run us very briefly through now the competition, a little bit of an overview, really, and I'll be diving on a little bit further down the line with slides as well, which I didn't actually add to the original agenda, so I will be the surprise Glastonbury act at the end of this presentation. But for now, it's a one-slide affair. If I could get the next slide, please, that would be great. So this is an overview of the opportunity that we've got at Bristol Temple Meads as part of Year 3 of the Station Innovation Zone programme. So as Alan mentioned at the start, this is in collaboration with Network Rail, funded by Innovate UK, and it's our 3rd year running this fantastic competition. So the competition is in stages, which I'll talk through a little bit more further down the line, but phase 1 is very much about developing your trial plan, looking at Bristol Temple Meads and working closely with Network Rail and with Catapult to build a trial plan that fits, so your innovation can really thrive in the station environment, and there'll be up to £4,000 of funding available for 8 businesses to develop their trial plan. Following that, there'll be a review period in which we'll have a look at your trial plans in further detail, and after that there'll be 3 that are selected by Network Rail and by Connected Places Catapult to actually live trial their solution at Bristol Temple Meads, which you've just heard from the 3 that are currently at that stage and how they've found it. So there will be funding obviously available as part of this programme, but there's also business support. So you'll work very closely, as I say, with us here at Catapult and with our Network Rail colleagues, and there'll be a lot of specific support on that testbed element. So that testbed element being what Bristol Temple Meads is as a station, what it has in terms of its offering. And as Hayden mentioned, there's a lot of scaffolding there. It's a Grade 1 listed building. It's an incredible, almost monument to the history of rail. And so being able to trial there is a really unique experience. And the team are so keen and so enthusiastic to hear new ideas and bring them to the rail market. So that's how it all works. And I'm going to pass over to my colleague, Anne Sparr, to talk you through a little bit of those challenges. So Anne, over to you.
Good afternoon. I'll start with the reminder that popped up in the chat. If you have any questions about anything related to the presentation, please raise them in the Q&A box rather than the chat, because then it's easier for us to monitor which questions are being asked and answered. So yeah, I'm here to present to you the challenge areas. If we can go to the next slide. Each of the 4 S's that were introduced by Julia have informed the sort of broad realm that each of these challenges sits within. They are updated with every round of trials, so they are always slightly different from the year before, because we've developed new learning or had other bits of information coming from outside the program that informed the challenges that we're setting. For this year, we've made a explicit distinction between front of house innovations and back of house innovations. As you know, the program intends to improve the passenger experience of the station. That we consider front of house innovation. So these are the solutions that are in direct connection to passengers at the station, but also people that are going onto trains, but also those that are not intending to take the trains to move somewhere else. Back of house innovation, on the other hand, are the solutions that are much more focused towards the operational side of the station. So they have end users to be more the station staff and station managers. So there we want to find solutions that help the station to operate more effectively by understanding the issues and improving them. Next slide. So challenge 1 is the accessibility challenge. This is to make sure that as a station, we cover all of the abilities and serving them to the best of our ability. So this means that we're not just looking at physical accessibility solutions here, but all forms of accessibility. As such, we believe there's a major opportunity around the idea of inclusive design, where we again do not look for new alternative solutions in terms of we've got a signaling board, but we then don't have audio messages broadcasted to those who can't see. We want to make sure that they are considered as added features to existing systems, for example, because that way they are integrated in the business as usual of the station. Because the overall ambition with this challenge is to make sure that accessibility is a default to the station and not an extra need. The one thing to mention with this one is to look at the enhancing of wayfinding systems. So we're not looking at particular wayfinding apps, because we've tested those in prior rounds of the trials. So we are not looking for those again this year. And what is out of scope for this this trial is that we don't want solutions that are purely focused on physical accessibility. We want to make sure that they cover more accessibilities. Next slide, please. Challenge 2 is about personal security. This is very much about the perception of safety, so that we make sure that when people are at the station, they feel safe. So that immediately suggests a scope limitation in that we're not looking for individualized apps such as app reporting crimes or personal security apps. Instead, we want to make sure that it's the sense of safety that's addressed here. And we've done that through identifying 3 different issues. So there's the perceived safety, there's the underreporting of safety, and the environmental factors that increase or decrease a sense of safety at the station. As a result, we see several opportunities around improving the reporting mechanisms, improving the environment, such as lighting and the presence of staff, and having an improved surveillance system. Next. The third challenge is the green challenge, and as suggested by Julia, we are looking at this in a rather holistic way. We don't look only for solutions in the carbon emissions area. We are also looking at how we can make sure that we shift the way passengers arrive at the station, so promoting active travel by walking to the station or taking the bus. There's an element of the environment of the station again, so biodiversity, making it a more green station, and then for the carbon emissions, making sure that the station has an ability to really carefully monitor and optimize their resource use. So that's a lot of data-driven decisions to be made, and there we see a lot of innovation potential. On to the next slide. This year, we've decided to run an open challenge to make sure that we capture all of the innovation solutions out there that could be of value to the station, but do not fit, but which do not fit in one of the particular 3 challenges that we have introduced just now. The important thing here is that we're looking for station innovations that may not be designed as such. So they could come from a completely different domain and have not been tested in real before. Those applications we encourage a lot. What we do want to make sure is that every solution that we get in this particular challenge is that it's novel, so it's not been tested or implemented at UK stations, that it's customer centric, so passenger of a station user centric and station staff centric. But if it's not aligned with any of the strategic objectives of Network Rail, we unfortunately consider it out of scope. But this is an open challenge that allows you to submit your solution for a safer, more efficient and environmentally friendly rail station, but without the need of having to fit within the 3 defined challenge areas. That's me. On to the next one.
Anna, thank you so much. George, can I pass over to you to discuss how we develop a successful testbed on the programme?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm George. I'm a service designer here at the Connected Places Catapult, and I'm going to be talking about the testbed, what it is, how you can make use of it, and the support that you'll be provided within the testbed. So onto the next slide, please. So I first want to talk about what a testbed is. So for those who are unfamiliar with the term, a testbed is a controlled environment used for testing and experimenting with new technologies, theories, processes, or products. It provides a structured setting where innovators like yourselves can conduct experiments, verify hypotheses, and validate performance without the risks associated with deploying in an untested innovation in a real-world scenario. So this gives you the chance to develop and test and showcase your solutions. So you might be very well aware that the testbed in this case is in Bristol Temple Mead Station, which is an operational environment, and as Hayden was alluding to previously, is undergoing a regeneration program. So you're going to find lots of scaffolding and lots of wiring in the building. So at the station, you might be utilizing the public area outside the station, like Christian from KOU is using the panels outside the taxi rank. You might be equipping station staff with your solution, like Mark from Chrome Angel, who's improving these security awareness, or you might be deploying a new community activity as well. There might be some limitations as to where you can deploy. As mentioned before, it is an operational environment, so we want to, there can't be any sort of deployment of technologies that would disrupt the service of the trains, so that wouldn't be feasible within the test bed. On to the next slide, please. And so for you coming into the testbed, we want to see the following mindsets. So being ambitious, we want to see something that is new, something that is novel, that hasn't been trialed in stations before. We want you as well to be open-minded, so expect the unexpected. Testing in the real-world environment can throw up all kinds of surprises and unknowns. So it's being able to react to those and bring those insights into the development of your solution, so that it can be a technology or a solution that is appropriate for not just Bristol Temple Meads, but stations across the UK. Which leads us on to the next one as well, about being flexible. So as you learn more about your solution and how it's behaving in that real world environment, you might want to adapt your project plan, adapt to the research questions that you're asking, or adapt your solution as well in response to what you're learning. On to the next slide, please. So we'll be providing support throughout the program, which will help you with the deployment of your solution. So this will come in the form of the testbed support. So here we'll be helping you to create a trial plan that is desirable, feasible, and viable, to make sure that we can implement it in the time frame that's available and with the resources and contacts that we have available as well. We'll have rail specific masterclasses as well. So this might come from station staff or those in strategic roles in the rail sector who'll be able to provide guidance and experience from other projects and programs and other initiatives that are going across the rail sector. We'll also provide some support around data privacy for those who will be collecting data. We'll help support with that data collection process. And we have pieces of infrastructure as well within the testbed that can create better transparency between the innovations that are collecting data and the passengers as well. So giving passengers a very clear idea of what data is being collected within the station in regards to the solution. And for those who might be engaging with passengers or members of staff, we'll also support you with providing the best practice for engaging with those end users. And then as well, we'll be supporting you with the monitoring and evaluation of your solution, providing you with formats to sort of help you show the impact of your solution, and coming out of this program as well to showcase how you have the evidence that you've collected in the program and how that could be expanded to other stations as well. And yeah, if you have any other further questions, feel free to ask me at the end of this talk. Thank you. I'll pass back to Anna.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, George. Thanks for talking us through that process. We are really lucky to have Bristol Temple Meads as our testbed site, primarily because it is a complete home of rail. If any of you are rail fanatics, which the majority of the team that work on this project are, you'll understand the weight and the significance that Bristol Temple Meads carries within the world of rail. Anyway, I am the surprise act because this was not on the agenda, so I'm going to run through it pretty quick just to make sure that we have got some time at the end for Q&A. So if I could have the next slide, please. So the scoring criteria, this is a very brief overview of how, when we're marking your submission, your application, this is the weighting that will be associated with each of the scoring criteria. So solution and trial proposal will be the highest weighted at 40%. We'll be having a look at how viable your solution is and how it could be demonstrated in a trial. Then the second weightiest is the impact at 30%. What would be the impact on Bristol Temple Meads? And, generally further afield than that, if it were to be an innovation that could be transformative in the world of rail. 20% will be attributed to traction and financials. That's just for us to have a little look through what your financial situation is in terms of where you would allocate your budget and how strong it would be in developing the trial plan in the first stage. Do want to emphasize this is only phase 1. Phase 2 will, if you are to be successful in phase 2, you will have a scoring criteria shared with you for that as well. And then it will be 10% associated with the team as well. So that's having a little look at the project management side, expertise, who's going to be conducting the trials, who's going to be on the ground in Bristol Temple Meads, making sure things are running smoothly if that's a requirement. Could I have the next slide, please? And then this is just a brief competition timeline. So we opened on the 17th of July. So we're now in what we call our open call stage. Closing on, that's an incorrect date, that's my fault everyone, sorry, 24th of September, not the 24th of August for when we will be closing on the dates. So leave that one with me, I'll accept the error on behalf of the team, sorry. So that will be the 24th of September, just to repeat when we'll be closing the competition. So mid to late September, after that's done, we will be doing interviews, and then following that, we'll be selecting our cohort in November. And so that's when phase 1 starts. That's when we start to really get into the nitty-gritty of developing your trials, working closely with the team. And so that will be in that November 24 to January 25 trial proposal development, when you'll work with Network Rail and you'll work with us. And then late January will when we have a deadline for you to submit that to us so we can review it and decide whether you would be a candidate who would move into phase 2, which we are aiming to start in February. So that's a very brief competition timeline overview. If I could have the next slide, please, it goes into a little bit more of what each of those stages contain. So as I say, phase 1, you'll be working on that trial proposal in which you'll be doing some trial design workshops with Network Rail, with us at Catapult, one-to-one business support. So there'll be a welcome kickoff webinar to get you into the program and explain to you how everything's going to work. We'll be having a little look at your designs and supporting you with that experimentation of how it could fit within the context of Bristol Temple Meads. There'll be tailored expertise given because our representatives at Network Rail are completely, utterly knowledgeable on every single element of the station. And they also love the station too, which makes a really big difference when you're on these sorts of programs, to have people that are genuinely passionate about innovating, not just within rail, but within the station that is, you know, a big part of their careers. So phase 2 is when we're going to start looking at the selection of the 3 companies who would go into phase 2 in January. And we would then do the phase 2 would be February running into summer 2025. And that will be when you're actually live at Bristol Temple Meads, implementing your trial, working really closely with Catapult, with Network Rail, and with various other stakeholders who are listed on our vision slide here. Very worth having a look at. There's a lot of people that make this program possible. And so that'll consist of some workshops, events, one-to-one mentorship, business coaching, and regular check-ins to make sure everything is running smoothly. And within that, as I say, there'll be business development elements, there'll be deployment support, and there will be a demonstration day in which you'll be able to showcase your innovations in all their glory, and we will invite the relevant stakeholders who will find them to be as magnificent as we do. So that's pretty much everything from me, I believe, and just a couple of tidying up bits and pieces to come now before we hand over to Q&A. If I could have the next slide, please. So if you want to look at the application page, I've got a QR code here for you. Get your phones out, scan it. But obviously, you'll have signed up to this webinar, so you'll have seen the application page already. But if you want to have a little scan now and look through, you'll find all of the information and more than what we've just discussed. I'd really recommend reading the application guidance document, not because I'm really proud of it, because I was the one that wrote it, but because it is a very good insight into the program, and it really does provide that extra level of detail that's really needed to strengthen your application and make sure that what you're actually applying for is something that we would want to fund as part of that scope. So yeah, do scan that. So as I say, I've got the correct date on this slide. Well done, me. It is 5 o'clock on the 24th of September for that deadline for the submission of your applications. Could I have the next slide, please? So 2 things to flag, or 1 thing really, but 2 versions of it. We have got Network Rail joining us on these 2 specific sessions where they're going to be able to talk through their role a little bit more within the program, but also to field any potential questions that you may have about Bristol Temple Meads, about a lot of the governance and general sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, regulatory frameworks that are associated with running trials in Bristol Temple Meads. So please do pop those dates in your diary. When we do circulate these slides, which I imagine will be next week, in all honesty, because I need to make sure that they're all corrected, because I obviously got the wrong day on one of them. You'll receive links to these and they'll be in an email, and you can sign up, and it will be a drop-in, drop-out casual situation where you can field any potential questions that you might have. So I do believe that's all from me. If I could get the next slide. Yeah, I'm going to hand back over to Julia to chair the Q&A for this project. And I can see we've got a message in the chat already, and I think a couple have been answered by colleagues.
Perfect, amazing. Brilliant. So this is the time, if you have any further questions, to drop them in the Q&A. I see there is a few coming in. So Anna, I think you've already answered the one around that Paul Pattinson actually asked. So would the proposed solution you are interested in exploring still within scope if they extended to train themselves, given that their concepts improve access to the train as opposed to the station itself? So I know Anna has answered that one. I'll just reiterate basically that it depends what the specific solution is about. If there is an element that applies to the station, so for instance, if the solution you've got in mind is an accessibility type solution, such as the ramps that connect the station platform to the train, there could be potentially an element there. So let us know in more detail, and we can take it from there. If any of you have any further questions after today's session, Anna Kerr, who is right next to me, is your point of contact. So you are more than welcome to send us through any question or information at innovation_funding@cp.catapult.org.uk. I see another question from Paul. Can we elaborate on the TRL aspect? It seems as though it's level 5 that is required. So yes, that is correct, Paul. We are looking at solutions that have already been validated and therefore are ready to be then trialed at the station. So we're looking at least a TRL level 5. I'm just checking if there's anything else. Charlie, challenge 3 mentioned the use of IoT sensors. Was these in scope or out of scope? Anne, can I ask you to come back in and maybe we can answer that live?
Yes, can you repeat? Because
Yes,
not
of course.
sure if I understood.
The question is challenge 3, which is the safety one, I believe, mentioned the use of IoT sensors.
Oh, yes. Let me very quickly pull that up. So it does include IoT. Sorry, that was a very simple answer.
The answer is
Quite a
yes.
simpler question, to be honest.
The answer is yes. That reminds me, on the documents that Anna has mentioned, so the application guidance document, you will find a very detailed explanation of the challenges that Anna has gone through earlier. So again, I would recommend you go through and read through what's in scope and what's out of scope. There are a few questions in the chat rather than in the Q&A, so I'll take them from there. One question, if we still have Hayden on the call, if you're there, Hayden, let me know. Are you still there? I'm not sure.
I did say they could drop off, to be fair. So
in which case, so there's a question specifically when I lost it. There was a specific question around data. Let me just read it out. How do Crosstech deal with data privacy and protection issue at the station? So we have an agreement with Network Rail, and the SME has gone through a process of approval with Network Rail in order to have access to data in order to being able to carry out the trial at the station. George, I know you are online, so I wonder whether perhaps you want to say a few more words on that aspect, since you're in charge of trials.
Yeah, so as sort of Julia mentioned, we go through a data protection process before you will deploy your solution, and that will make sure that the data you're collecting is appropriate and related to your solution. And as well as that, we also have a portal that we have that the passengers or members of the public can access as well, that gives them a very clear view of what data is being collected. So in terms of Crosstech's specific solution, I will sort of speak on Hayden's behalf, but it doesn't capture anything like facial recognition. It'll only sort of capture the objects themselves, and we'll store that data temporarily before being deleted. But yeah, that's hopefully that the answer to your question.
Brilliant. Let us know, Nick, if that answers your question, or if you would like to explore that a bit more. In the meantime, Amanda has sent another question through. Is there a link to the solutions that we've funded in the last couple of years? Yes, the information about the projects that we've funded so far is available on our website. So if you go to the Connected Places Catapult website and you type in Station Innovation Zone, you will find the list of all the successful trials that have been run for the last 2 years. The ones that we are currently still running, you'll probably won't find as much information because they haven't concluded yet. But you've heard from the 3 SMEs involved just now. But for the previous one, all the information is on our website. We will make sure that we provide that link in the email that we send out afterwards. George is asking another question. Does the mentioned minimum financial assistance address the minimum funding specifically? Do you want to answer that one, Anna?
Yes, so correct me if I'm wrong, Julia, but this competition will be subject to minimum financial assistance, which is what,
First phase.
yeah, for the first phase only. So the first phase is £4,000 to develop your trial plan, and this will be subject to, as you say, de minimis funding, which means, as that question says, you can't have received more than £315,000 worth of funding in the last 2 to 3 financial years, including this one, because it's this is a grant. So that means we'll also be monitoring spending quite strictly. So a word from the wise is to make sure you keep a hold of your receipts, keep a hold of everything that's related to project expenditure, and make sure that those receipts and invoices are only dated within the project period, which, if you are to be successful into getting on to phase 1, then we will make sure that those dates are very, very clearly laid out for you. But yes, to answer your question, the £4,000 at the start is subject to MFA, but the following 45,000, if you to get onto phase 2, is done via pre-commercial funding routes. So that means it will not be subject to MFA.
I hope that answered your question, George. I don't see any other questions in the chat. So, saying that. So, for the going back to George's question. So the £4,000 that you will receive if you're successful for phase 1 will count towards your MFA threshold. So yes, you will have to sign an MFA declaration if you're successful, and ensure that you are not going over the 315,000 threshold of MFA funding that you can receive. So the minimis and MFA are the same thing. The minimis has been renamed minimal financial assistance lately. So the answer is yes, it's the same thing, so it will count towards it. Perfect, you are very welcome. If you have any other questions, as we said before, please contact the team, but specifically Anna at the contact that you see online. As we have 1 minute to go, if there are any other burning questions, a couple of reminders. So first of all, please access the documentation that is available on the opportunity page. You will find all the information that you need to write and submit a successful application. Please do attend the drop-in sessions. Remind me the dates.
13th of August and 12th of September. So in our email out after this, we will make sure to include links to those, but I will say it will more than likely be next week.
So make sure that you take advantage of that. Network Rail reps will be attending those, so it will be a good opportunity to ask them more technical questions. And of course, Anna will also be available for any other general question about the program. And the third reminder is to keep the 24th of September in mind. That is the deadline. Unfortunately, we will not be able to accept any applications submitted after the deadline. Other than that, I'd like to thank Anna for arranging today's webinar and for taking the lead in running this very interesting program. And thank you, all of you, for joining us today. And we wish you a very successful application period and, of course, a nice summer holiday. Thank you very much, everyone.